Alright guys, how are we doing today? I'm going to be doing my Pick'em Challenge prediction. I know it's been a very long time since I posted on my YouTube channel, but I figured, why not bring things back and give my thoughts on the upcoming major because I'm pretty excited about it. So before we do that, I just want to make sure that you guys know that this Pick'em Challenge is a little bit different from Pick'em Challenges in the past. So let me show you why. So as opposed to there being, you having to get 75 points to play the Pick'em Challenge, this time you have to pay for a coin, which then you have to complete certain challenges as opposed to a point system. So it's a little bit different in the way I'm going to approach this Pick'em Challenge as opposed to previous majors, which I've done. And, I've done quite a few of these Pick'em Challenges all the way back to Cologne 2015. I'm usually only good for a silver coin, but just to show that I have a little bit of credibility, with the challenger stage last time, as well as the group stage, I did pretty well, as you can see. I know I didn't post a video about it, but I was at one point in the top 1%. That kind of fell apart when I got a little bit too bold in my playoff predictions, but I'm pretty good at these challengers and group stage picks. So without further ado, let's hop into the 2019 IEM Katowice Pick'em Challenge for the Challenger stage. Okay, so I'm going to leave my 3-0 pick open for right now, and I'll pick that at the end of the video. The first team that I'm going to pick for my 0-3 is going to be Greyhound. In my opinion, you have a couple of different options here for an 0-3 team. You have Furia, which is like this Tier 2 Brazilian team that snuck in via the NA qualifier. You've got Greyhound, which obviously I think I'm going to go with the Australians, who are like a tier under Renegades, who are also Australian. You got Windstrike, which is like the old Flipside core, and some of the Quantum Bellator Fire guys who are known to overachieve at majors, so I think that they'll probably end up getting a win at least. And they are CIS, so they play against higher tier opposition. And then the most compelling argument against picking Greyhound would be Vichy, which is this Chinese team, I believe, who snuck in via the last chance qualifier and actually beat North in a best of 1 and best of 3. Obviously, North is not in the best of shape right now, but nonetheless, that's still an impressive result. So I think that I would maybe recommend picking Vichy if you don't feel comfortable with Greyhound as opposed to Furia or Windstrike. But the thing is that Vichy is such an unknown quantity that they could just show up and really grind out a map during this off time and then completely surprise teams like they did with North. So I think that because Vichy's a little bit of a more talented roster and has a raw skill in my opinion, that I'm going to stick with Greyhound, who I don't think is a very good team. They just don't impress me all that much. Dick Stacy, I know the meme, Big Dick Stacy. It doesn't really go for me. I don't buy into it. Their team's not very good. They don't have any star players. Yeah, they're just not a very, very good team, which is, expected out of the Australian region, but whatever. They're here, so good for them. Sticker money. So now we're going to pick our 7 teams that we're going to have advance, and then we'll do the 3-0. So number 1 has got to be Fnatic. So these Fnatic boys, they definitely are currently ranked as one of the best teams at this challenger stage. I would 100% agree with that. They've got a stacked roster who have been to majors in the past, have won majors in the past, have made deep runs at majors numerous times. They've been here, done that. This shouldn't really be an issue for them. JW, Crims, Exist, Twist have all made deep runs at majors. Brolin's a really young rifler who's pretty solid. So I wouldn't worry too much about them choking. They seem like a shoo-in. They potentially could be a candidate for 3-0, but I'm going to leave them here for right now. The next team I'm going to choose is going to be NRG. So this is a fantastic NA team with the Bulgarian Bulldozer and Cirque, who's a fantastic opper. Daps is a really great in-game leader. Ethan, Breezy, fantastic young NA talents. And then you got Fugly, who's probably the best support player in North America as well. Just a stacked North American team. Really, really solid. They have had some issues in choking in the past, but I wouldn't worry about them choking in the challenger stage so much as I would maybe in the group stage. We'll see. They definitely have the talent to be a Legends team, but they've never done it before. It's like uncharted territory for DAPS, so we'll see how they end up playing in the challenger stage before we get to that point. I think potentially Energy could be a candidate for 3-0, but again, I'm going to go with the shoe-in points, and I'm going to leave them as a team that is 100% going to advance rather than risk getting them wrong as a 3-0. So up next we have Cloud9. So I think that Cloud9 is a very solid team. However, I think they're being a little bit overhyped right now. Currently, they're ranked as the number 3 team at this challenger stage. That might be a little bit overrated. People are basing it off of their E-League performance, where they beat Big in a best of 3 and FaZe in a best of 3, and then also almost beat them in the grand final. But keep in mind, Big was kind of in roster shambles at that point because Smooya was playing very unhappy and they knew Next was coming in, so they had to alter their system. They were prepping for it anyway. It was also their first big LAN with Xantares. Also keep in mind that FaZe is also implementing a player. Nico has to be the in-game leader now, all of a sudden, for the first time in years. Adren, he doesn't speak very good English, so they're trying to incorporate him as best they can. They have a new coach in Yanko. So, it should have been honestly expected that Cloud9 would make it to the final of that 4-team event, because Complexity was also like dog shit. So I think people are overrating them a little bit. I do think Cloud9's a solid team. I think they're in a honeymoon period with Flusher as the in-game leader. I don't know how far he can take them. But lucky for them, they're peaking at just the right time. Maybe they can make a deep run of this event. We'll see. But either way, I think that they should be pretty obvious advancers from the challenger stage. So I don't know if they'll do it 3-0, maybe 3-1, maybe 3-2. We'll see. My next team that I'm going to decide to choose here is going to be Ninjas in Pajamas. So I'm actually very high on NIP. People are doubting them as per usual. I think that they're a very talented roster as long as Get Right and Forrest perform and Dennis steps up a little bit. They're a young roster with Rez and Lekro. They've got some veteran experience in Get Right, Dennis, and Forrest. Really solid players. Every single player except for Rez has made a deep run at a major, including Lekro. He's been a legend before. So I think that people are underrating NIP a little bit because they haven't played in a little while. I actually think they have the potential to make a very deep run at this tournament. How deep, we'll see. I want to see how they play, but I'm actually a firm believer that they could definitely become a Legends team, contrary to what a lot of people think. But I'm going to keep my hype toned down a little bit for NIP as of right now. I want to see how they play in the Challenger stage and in the group stage, and we'll see what goes from there. But I actually think NIP has the potential to be a dark horse at this tournament, so keep an eye on them for sure. The next team I'm going to be choosing here is going to be ENCE. Yes, easy for ENCE. So originally I actually had ENCE as my 3-0 team. However, due to the way the pick'ems is structured this time around, you have to only get 5 of these right to get your points. You don't have to overachieve and get like every single one of these picks right. No, you just need to make sure that you get 5 of them correct. So I think ENCE is a shoe-in to advance. I don't want to put them as a 3-0 because then I risk potentially getting them wrong if they go 3-1 or 3-2. So yeah, ENCE is a really talented roster. They're a young roster of Finnish players aside from Alu. Yeah, they've had some choking problems in the past. They didn't make it to the major last time, but they seem to be over that. They cruised past the EU qualifier, the online section, and the LAN section. They just look really, really solid. They're a soft-spoken team. They kind of just put their nose down and get the work done. I appreciate that about them for sure. And I think they could definitely make a deep run, They've had some good results this year. We'll see if they can build on them and do well here. So now we are reaching, a little bit of shaky territory, but we're going to keep on powering through. The next team that I'm going to be deciding to choose here is going to be Vitality. So this is the new French lineup with the young talent of Zai Wu. You've got NBK as the in-game leader. You got RPK, Apex. Really, really solid players here. They've, have a plethora of major experience. Some of them have won majors in the past. Zai Wu is just a beast. People are, hailing him as potentially the next Kenny S of the French scene. We'll see how far that goes, but it definitely looks promising. I definitely like Vitality to advance. However, they've had troubles in the young life of this roster in keeping consistency. They definitely have the raw skill to do it and the veteran savvy and the young blood, but will they be able to piece it all together? Will NBK become a competent in-game leader for them to advance, into the group stage? It's hard to say because they haven't shown that consistency quite yet. But I like it considering the pool of teams we have here. Most of these teams are mid-range, medium-tier teams. I think Vitality is talented enough to handle most of these names that are, in their way. And I think that they will advance. It may not be pretty, but I think that they'll pull it off. So now we have 2 more picks to do here. So I am going to actually do my 3-0 now. I'm going to pick Vega Squadron. I like this idea of picking a team that is a little bit of an unknown quantity. You don't know exactly how well they're going to perform, but they definitely have the potential to perform very well. People forget that Vega Squadron, who was also under the radar last major, was in the 2-0 team pool at Face It. And they very well could have advanced 3-0 had they not drawn Liquid, who eventually ended up making it to the semifinals and was far and away like the second best team at that major overall. Vegas Squadron's a very dangerous team. People like to underrate them. They've been under the radar. They've had some bad online results. I don't care about that on LAN. They're really solid. They have this very aggressive play style that teams hate playing against because it's very hard to counter-strat them on top of the lack of demos that they have. So I actually really think Vegas Squadron is a perfect team to put as your 3-0 because they could do it, and if they don't, it's no skin on your back because you have all of these teams here who are almost shoo-ins, and you're going to get your points, which make it so that you can advance your coin and rank it up. So I think Vegas Squadron is a pretty solid team to go 3-0, and I could even see it happening. It's not that improbable, believe it or not. So the last team that I'm going to choose, I think you have a couple of options here that make sense to me. G2 is definitely an option. However, I'm not sold on them. I don't think Shox is a good in-game leader. I don't think Kenius is back to being a good opper. They've got, bodies just They've got these young French players who I'm not sold on at all. So I think G2 is going to be in for a massive disappointment here. The next team, which, makes sense on paper, would be Renegades. Again, I'm not really sold on Renegades. You look at their high marking results that people like to praise. I mean, it's usually results against Mouse Sports, who isn't even attending this major. Renegades rarely does anything else against any top 10 ranked teams, top 5 ranked teams. They're just kind of a middle of the pack team. They're perennial underperformers at majors. I've had faith in them in the past. They've let me down. I know that they're repping the all Australian, New Zealand lineup now. They're not trying to do international. I mean, they got Jacob, but whatever. I don't know. They're just not all that great to me. They obviously could pull it off. I like Kassad as their coach, but I don't know if he's going to be enough to break the streak, per se. They are somewhat of a young team with Gratisfaction and Liaz, so they could develop. I don't know, JKS to me is just not that great of a player either. He's very inconsistent. He's got these really high highs, but then again, these very low lows. So I don't know. I don't think Renegades is going to do it for me. I think another option here that's under the radar is Spirit. Spirit's a really good CIS team. They've got good team chemistry. They play off each other well. They're just not all that talented, and they don't have the international experience, to go up against some of these big dogs, in my opinion. I could see Spirit getting some upsets. They could end up getting 2 wins like they did last major, but I don't think that they have it quite yet, enough of the talent or the experience to advance fully. Another team that would make sense maybe would be Tai Lu. They did it last time in objectively a weaker pool of teams. You had some really good teams at the last challenger stage, but there was also some really, really shitty teams. And Tai Lu barely got in by the skin of their teeth. They've had some recent roster changes. Every LAN event they've attended, they've done terrible with these new players. I don't see why it would change now, even if they've been boot camping. They don't speak in one language. It's terrible communication. It's a miracle they did as well as they did last major. I don't think they're going to repeat it again. They really need to figure out what they want to do, like a team identity. Do they want us, communicate all in English? If so, you need to get players that are competent in English. You need to get a competent in-game leader. If Ben Tet's not going to do it, if you want him to make him your star player, it's too much to, I don't know, it's too much to handle for one person, even though Ben Tet's a very good player. I don't think Tyloo's got it this time. They could end up getting 2 wins. They're an upset team. I don't think they're going to get 3. So, in my opinion, that leaves a Vanguard as the last option. They're a really, really solid CIS team. They won the entire, CIS qualifier. They've got fantastic team chemistry, great communication, great strategy, really underrated players, the likes of James and Fitch, and Krizin even. Really cool Kazakhstani players that have been playing with each other for like 2 years now. They play off each other really well. They've got a pretty underrated map pool. They can play a lot of maps. They can definitely take a lot of these teams and really surprise them. So I actually like a Vanguard to advance here. I think one of the telling signs of a young team is their celebration when they advance to a new stage. When a Vanguard advanced, they weren't like up and yelling and screaming at the top of their lungs like the likes of a Greyhound was. They were just very calm, and they business as usual. They definitely expected to make it this far, and I think they definitely expect to go a little bit further too. So I like a Vanguard to pull this one off. So these are going to be my picks for the Challenger stage. I hope you guys enjoy. If you enjoyed this video, I do plan on doing my prediction videos for every single match of the major cycle, and I potentially may extend that to tournaments in the future. If the format's good and if I get a lot of picks right and I seem like a smart guy, maybe I'll continue if you guys enjoy the content. But other than that, these are going to be my picks for the Katowice Major in 2019. I hope you guys enjoy. There'll be a new video coming out for the group stage as well as the playoff matchup. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in a little while. Take it easy.